Hey innovators! Welcome to the Innovation Lab. Today we are going to learn about simple circuitry. We're going to make cool LED powered cards. So we're going to use a little bit of copper tape, a small cell battery, and a tiny LED light in order to make your cards light up. So let's check out the materials that we need and let's get to work. Now, innovators, for this project, you're going to need some special items that you can buy at your local hobby shop, electronic shop, or even from online retailers like Amazon. You're going to need some copper tape. You can usually get it in rolls like this. The cool thing about copper tape is that one side is tacky, just like tape, and the other side is smooth. And it's made out of really, really thin copper. So one thing that you'll notice is that once you peel it off of the paper, because it's just thin copper, it rips very easily. So it's very cool material. So copper tape. You're going to need a low voltage. This is a 3-volt cell battery. So a little, often these are, you can find these inside of watches or small electronics. Very inexpensive. So a small battery. And you're going to need some LED lights. Now, I have two different types here. I have traditional LEDs, and I also have these special LEDs that are flat. So here are two of them connected. You can use either one. Now, something special to note is these flat LEDs have little symbols that tell you which side is the positive side and which side is the negative side. For these standard LEDs, the way that you differentiate is the longer pin is the positive pin and the shorter one is the negative pin. So two different options there. You're also going to need some tape, some regular Scotch tape. You'll need a pair of scissors. We're going to use some paper today to make our card. And last but not least, you're going to want to grab a couple of markers. So I grabbed 2 markers to help us build our project. Now that we have everything we need, let's get to work. Innovators, now that we have all of our materials, we can start to construct our card that's powered by an LED light. I actually have one here in my pocket, and I'm going to give you a closer look. Here is a card that I made of my favorite superhero. His name is Innovation Man. And if I press on the corner of my card, it actually lights up. So if you open it up, you'll notice that I have a battery and some copper tape that powers my LED light. When I press this corner, it completes a circuit. How cool is that? So we have everything that we need, innovators. Now let's start to build our LED powered cards. All right, innovators, let's start building our LED powered card. So first you're going to take a rectangular piece of paper. Now, do remember, innovators, you can definitely change the design of your card or the shape of your card. I'm going to teach you how to make a basic card. And again, once you understand how the circuitry works with the copper tape, you can go ahead and get as creative as you'd like. So for my demo, I'm going to go ahead and fold my rectangular sheet of paper in half to create a card. Now, I'm going to open it up, and in the interior, I'm going to fold a corner. And this folded corner is going to end up being my on and off switch for my LED. So I'll leave that there. Next, I'm going to take my markers, and what I want to do is I want to map out my circuit. So I'm going to start off with a blue and red marker, and I'm going to make the positive side of my card red. So I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to create, I'll add a little plus sign so that I know this is going to be the positive side of my circuit, and I'm just going to draw it out. Okay, I'm going to assume that my battery is going to be right here, just like that. Okay, and I'll go down, and my LED will be right here. And I'll label it LED. Now, this is still the positive side, so I'll label it. Now, on the other side, I'm going to go ahead and make another track. This is going to be my negative side. I'll go ahead and I'll draw into the battery, and I'll explain that in just a second. And this will be my negative. I'll mark that here as a negative. Okay, perfect. Now that I've drawn it out, I could actually start to place my copper tape, but I'd like to show you the different components so that we understand how we're going to build our circuit. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my LED and I'm going to use the LED that has these little symbols, positive side and negative side. I'm going to place that right here. I'm just going to lay everything out. Then I'm going to take my small flat battery and I'll place that right here. Now I understand that the top part of my battery is the positive side. So when I place a strip of copper tape here, how I activate or connect the circuit is that I'm going to fold the piece of copper tape, and it's actually going to land on top of my cell battery. So it's going to be touching the positive side. And I'll have another strip of copper tape that'll be underneath my battery, and it'll be touching the negative side. So when the card is flipped open, the circuit is broken. When I flip the card over, causing the copper tape to touch the top of the battery, it'll be complete. So now let's actually put it together. I'm going to use my copper tape here, and you can make adjustments. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to follow your lines perfectly. Those just serve as a guide. Okay. Now, I want to make sure that my LED is touching the copper tape, so I'm actually going to take a small piece and I'm going to secure the battery, the LED, excuse me, and make sure that it's touching only the positive side of the LED. So, and the copper tape is holding it down. Now I'm going to continue. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, on the negative side. I'm going to use a little piece of copper tape to help secure the LED and to connect it to the other side of my circuit. And I'm going to use a long piece here, because that's where my battery is going to go. Okay, this is looking pretty good. You notice here that these ends don't touch. I don't want them to touch, okay? What I want them to do is to touch different sides of the battery. So let's test it out. I'll place my battery right here. You'll notice that the negative side, or the underside of my battery, is touching the negative side of my circuit, and the positive side, which is the top part of the battery, there's a small plus symbol on there, that is going to touch my little on and off switch. So if I go over, and voila. Excellent. Let's try that again. Innovators, I've gone and secured the battery down to my card using a piece of Scotch tape. I also wanted to point out that I went and I used my finger to really press down the copper tape around my LED light just to make sure that everything is connected. I smoothed it out. I made sure that the copper tape was nice and smooth, that all these points were touching, and I applied another extra piece here just to make my button a little bit bigger. And now, when I close it, my LED lights up No problem. So, test it out again. Awesome. So, now let's take a closer look and see how this works. Innovators, let's take a closer look at our LED-powered cards and why they work. Now, in order for a circuit to complete, that means that energy, in this case electricity from this battery, needs to completely go through this circuit. It needs to be a complete circuit, okay? So, if we follow our battery, we have electricity, right? That's flowing through this side, through our negative end. It's going into our LED, but that circuit is broken. When I touch this end of the copper tape onto the positive side of my battery, it now completes the circuit. I have electricity going from my positive side of the battery through, it's going into the positive end of my LED bulb, and then it's coming out through the negative pin of my LED bulb, and it's coursing through this copper tape down to the bottom side of my battery, which is the negative side of it. So all of your devices that use batteries, they'll have a negative and a positive side. And in order for them to work, they usually have an on and off switch, right? That helps complete or break the circuit. When it's not touching, the circuit is broken. When it's touching, the circuit is complete, turning the light bulb on. Believe it or not, this same concept is what powers most things, what allows on and off switches to work even with some of the larger appliances that you find around your house. So, simple circuitry to power an LED powered card. Cool. Innovators, thanks for joining me today in the lab and trying out a really fun and simple project. Our project allowed us to explore the concepts behind circuitry, right? We created our own simple circuit using some basic materials that gives us a better understanding of how circuitry works in the appliances that we have around us every day. So, remember to always think critically and to think creatively. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.